Hello, everyone. I will just give you a minute or so to get into the room, and then we'll get started. Hello, everyone. My name is Sabine Soumaré. I am the Executive Director of the Women Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub, which is also called WEKH. I'm glad you could join us today for this webinar to celebrate actually Small Business Week, along with our partner, Futurpreneur, and 2 women entrepreneurs. But before we begin, I would like to first and foremost acknowledge that the work we do takes place on the traditional territory of the Mississauga of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wenda peoples, which is now home to many diverse First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. Our partners across Canada similarly gather on the traditional territory of many Indigenous nations who have cared for these lands since time immemorial. Now I would like to give you more information about WEKH, and I will be sharing my screen. So just give me a second. I'll make it happen very quickly. There you go. So I don't know in the audience who knows about WEKH, but WEKH was actually, it's a government, a federal government initiative, which was started in 2018. And so we've been operating officially since 2019. We do have, it's loading, so it's taking a bit of time, but here you go. So we do have 10 regional hubs across Canada to support women entrepreneurs, the women entrepreneurship ecosystem. We do work with 250 partners across Canada. For example, Futurpreneur is one of our partners, and we're really happy to host this event today with them. Our core mission is really to understand the women entrepreneurship ecosystem by having a clear understanding of the gaps and the needs. And the purpose of that is not just to help and support the organization supporting women entrepreneurs, but it's also to inform the government for them to better build program services to support women entrepreneurs and diverse women entrepreneurs. We do have 50 reports and journal articles published since we started WEKH. We also have a couple of tools that I will encourage you to check. So for the first one is our WEKH website, where we have all our research papers, but also events happening across Canada. And we do have a sharing platform. When COVID hit, one thing that we have realized that women entrepreneurs were more isolated. So we wanted to bring them all together and keep working together, sharing information together, and also being part of a community. So the sharing platform is there for that. So if you have an ask or a give, please feel free to join the community of over 1,000 women entrepreneurs. We also have launched the Seed Beat campaign, which is very important for us because we know how much women entrepreneurs are not seen as entrepreneur or as not seen as a contributor of the economy. I think it's important to say that women entrepreneurs are part of it, and I will show you a few data and a few numbers, and we can make a business case that helping women entrepreneurs will help the Canadian economy. So the reason WEKH actually started, it's really based on the women entrepreneurship strategy, which is a strategy developed by the government of Canada. So it's nearly $6 billion investment and commitments. So that's what they put on the table to make sure that we can create a whole strategy. And one pillar is the WEKH, so the women entrepreneurship strategy. And the goal is to support, but also to help double the number of women entrepreneurs by 2025. So WEKH is led by the Diversity Institute, and the Diversity Institute is part of the Toronto Metropolitan University, formerly Ryerson. We do have 100 researchers and stakeholders to support us in this work of better understanding the ecosystem and doing research, and also to inform policy and practice. And one thing that we do as well is sharing knowledge, and also the making sure that we share best practices already existing in the ecosystem. When I spoke about different numbers that I have for you to show and actually showcase the fact that it's important to support women entrepreneurs, here is one: a 20% increase in total revenues among majority women-owned enterprises will contribute an additional $2 billion per annum to the Canadian economy. And there's another one that I like to mention. It's a study that shows that by advancing gender equality and women's participation in the economy, Canada could add up to 115 billion in the GDP. So it's very serious. So now the ecosystem, because when you have the numbers, we have to support women entrepreneurs. We need to find a way to do it, but intentionally. So now let's look at the ecosystem approach, because that's how we operate. So first, you as an entrepreneur, how can we support you? How do you support yourself? What do you do to grow your business, to start your business? So you as an individual. Then we look at the organizational level, which is more organization for like Futurpreneur or financial institutions. That's another big one, because we know that women entrepreneurs, they do not have access or not enough access to capital. So what do we do to challenge that? What do we do to challenge financial institutions? And then the government. And I will also mention the media, because government is part of the solution. Actually, they put some money on the table for the strategy. So they're part of the solution. They were also part of the solution when COVID hit. As you know, they were the one to develop some specific program to support entrepreneurs and businesses. And then there is the media. What do they show? What do they showcase? Is the media part of the solution to show that more women entrepreneurs are also successful, and it's not just for one type of people? And we'll see that later in the presentation. Just to give you an idea of what does it mean to be a women entrepreneurs in the ecosystem in terms of data. So 15.6% of small businesses are majority owned by women. But when we look at self-employed women in Canada in 2019, it's 37.4%. And then if we look at Canadian women, entrepreneur women, Canadian women, is 30.3%. So the definition really differ, and that's why it's important to better understand what's the definition of a women entrepreneurs, because then we can have like a very clear numbers and say, this is the representation of women entrepreneurs. And that also helps the government in terms of the gaps, because we know that like a sole proprietor may have less chance to have fundings or to qualify for any loans to compare with, for example, a small business. Now, if we look at the intersectionality, I will look more specifically on two different communities. So the Black women entrepreneurs and also the Indigenous women entrepreneurs. But if you look at our research, we do also have research on women with disabilities and women in the rural sector, for example. But I'm just going to pause for these two, or I'm just going to mention these two for now. So we've done a research on the Black women entrepreneurs. As you know, we don't have enough data when it comes to the Black community, so it was important to do that study. And one thing that we've learned is that Black women were new with 15% established businesses over the past 2 years, which actually show us that COVID, yes, impacted significantly the Black community, but also created opportunities. And that is because, for example, some of them decided to be their own business because they faced systemic discrimination or gender bias. So that was a way for them to kind of be part of the economy, work for themselves, and also showcase their culture. Some of them has mentioned that specifically they wanted to be very proud of who they come, where they come from, and what their identity is. So they started their own business. And then there is, in terms of the Indigenous women entrepreneurs, they faced a very similar they were impacted, I should say, significantly by the COVID, and similarly by the Black community, but in different ways, obviously. But one thing that we've noticed is that they have grown their business despite of the COVID, despite of the crisis. They have increased their annual revenue in 2019. So that's a good news. But what we know also is that 7 in 10 Indigenous women entrepreneurs report that their business operations have been negatively impacted by the pandemic. So some programs were there to support them, and I think it's important to mention it. But I think in the new State of Women Entrepreneurship report that we will be publishing in 2024, sorry, what's the year? So 2023, sorry. I'm pretty sure we will see good numbers, and we can be surprised. We will be surprised by the impact and the growth of Indigenous women entrepreneurs, but also Black women entrepreneurs. So now back to the research and the resources and tools that we have. So we have a couple, I have put some here for you, and obviously you can find them on our website. Now, very briefly, when I mentioned how important it is to showcase Black women entrepreneurs, Indigenous women entrepreneurs, and all diverse women entrepreneurs, is because usually when we think about entrepreneur, okay, probably not recently, but still, I'm sure it does still happen, and you should actually try that. Google entrepreneur and let's see what you see. It could be Mr. Zuckerberg, is going to be Mr. Bezos, etc., etc. And especially if you put a successful entrepreneur, I challenge you to do that and tell me what you find. But that's why it is important for us to start the Seed Beat. And we started the Seed Beat campaign for that specific reason, to make sure that we see more diverse women when we type successful entrepreneurs. And I'm sure it is possible. And with your help, making sure that you nominate someone or you add your name on our database, which is now we have over 1,000 women entrepreneurs on our database. So be part of the solution, add your name, add someone's names, and we will make sure to showcase you. And our goal is to double that number by the International Women's Day next year on March 8th. So that's our goal. And then in terms of what we do, so we host events like the one that we're hosting today. We've also hosted a couple of specific events to help women understand how to incorporate. Why is it so important to incorporate your business, but also how to do business with the government. So procurement, a procurement series was hosted last spring, and we did 5 different webinars in French and English. We brought government representatives to speak about the programs available, but also how to do business. So very important. You can check that on our YouTube channel. We do have the recording available. And then I mentioned the sharing platform. So then you can see what it looks like. I won't talk too much about it, but you can go on the website. And that's it for me. I don't want to take too much of your time because I want Futurpreneur to present their programs, and I also want to hear the panel. So now, sorry, I'm going to stop sharing. There you go. And I am going to give it, I'm going to present. Am I still presenting? No, I'm not sharing anymore, right? No. Okay. Give me a second. Okay, so just want to make sure I have the name right. So now I will invite our partners from Futurpreneur to talk about their program. So Nicola Jones-Crossley and Kennedy Horton, who are both business development managers, and also Audrey Mariam-Nelly, the business development manager. And she's been helping Black entrepreneurs from Ontario, the Prairies, and the Northwest Territories and Yukon. So over to you, Futurpreneur.
Thank you so much, Sabine. It's a pleasure to be here with you. So my name is Audrey Mariam-Nelly, and yes, I'm a business development business development manager for the Black Entrepreneur Startup Program. And I have here with me my colleague, Nicola Jones-Crossley and Kennedy Horton, who will also present the programs that we have. But just to give you a bit of background about Futurpreneur, so who we are the Canada's only national nonprofit organization dedicating to provide financing, mentoring, and business resources to help aspiring diverse entrepreneurs who are aged between 18 and 39. And just to give you a bit of stats here, since we started like over 25 years ago, we have been supported more than 15,000 entrepreneurs and over 12,000 businesses in each province and territory. So I'm going to let my colleague, Nicola Jones-Crossley and Kennedy Horton to present some of the programs, and I will finish with the Black Entrepreneur Startup Program here.
All right, so I will kick us off. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. So a little bit about our core startup program. So it is a program that is designed for full-time businesses looking in a startup phase and who are between the ages of 18 to 39. So all of our programming is targeted to 18 to 39. You receive up to $60,000 in loan financing, as well as 2 years of hand-matched mentorship. And you can also receive support from an entrepreneur in residence who can support you while writing a business plan and a cash flow. Additionally, we have our side hustle program for entrepreneurs looking to start a part-time business while they're working full-time. And this program is an opportunity for you to receive financing of up to $15,000 with no intention of becoming a full-time business within the 12-month period. And can demonstrate a full-time sustainable income outside of the side business. And additionally, you would also get access to the 2 years of hand-matched mentorship with this program as well. So I'm now going to pass it over to Nicola, who is going to tell us more about the Newcomers program as well, the Indigenous Entrepreneurship Startup Program.
Thanks so much, Kennedy, and hi, everyone. Thank you to WEKH for having us here today. We have an amazing partnership with WEKH, and it's so fantastic to be here to chat a little bit more about our programs at Futurpreneur. So just to set the scene, I'm calling in from the West Coast. So I wanted to just mention that I am very honored and privileged to be joining this call from the traditional unceded territories of the Musqueam, the Squamish, and the Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. I wanted to preface that and give a little bit of an introduction and land acknowledgement from where I sit today, because I want to talk a little bit about our Indigenous program, specifically for First Nation entrepreneurs. So at Futurpreneur, we have, as Kennedy mentioned, kind of our two core umbrella programs. We have our startup programs, and then we have our side hustle programs. Now, under our startup programming, we have a couple of specific programs focused on Indigenous entrepreneurs, and then Audrey will tell you about our Black Entrepreneur Startup Program as well. But specifically for our Indigenous Entrepreneur Program, it's been around for maybe 3 years now, I think, 4 years. And it's really designed specifically for First Nations entrepreneurs. So those who identify as First Nations, you can come through and apply for that startup program. Very similar eligibility criteria that Kennedy mentioned. So you need to fall within the age gap between 18 to 39. And you need to identify as First Nations. There are so many key supports that are available to First Nations entrepreneurs. So the whole team at Futurpreneur, who also identify as First Nations, will take you through our program. You're able to apply for up to a maximum of $60,000 through Futurpreneur, structured as a business loan to really help get your business off the ground. And then you will also be matched with that mentorship component as well, to really help guide your business in the first couple of years of operations. So in terms of the eligibility, very similar to what Kennedy just mentioned, but again, that opportunity to be matched with a mentor and really have the key support systems there for you from other community partners that we have in collaboration with our Indigenous Entrepreneur Program as well. So we also work very hand in hand with a lot of the Aboriginal AFIs, Aboriginal financial institutions, and community partners locally, depending on where you're based, as this program is national across Canada. So if anyone identifies as First Nations and curious about that program, I'll pop a link into the chat box here and you can look more about it. But a secondary offering that we have at Futurpreneur that I wanted to just mention as well is that we do have an offering specific for newcomers to Canada. And so this is an offering, again, designed for immigrants or newcomers that have moved to Canada within the first 5 years of landing in Canada. Then you need to have your permanent residency, your PR card, to be able to apply for this program. It's not really so much of a program, it's more of an offering that we have at Futurpreneur. So we do identify and recognize that newcomers to Canada bring so much amazing background, knowledge, wealth, and skills, and might want to start their own business in Canada. And where a barrier that we have identified exists for immigrants is specifically around credit. So generally, because you're fairly new to Canada, and I can attest to this, I'm Australian. I came to Canada about 4 years ago. I had no idea what a credit score was. And similarly, many immigrants to Canada will not understand what credit is, or will simply, just because of being here for such a short amount of time, will not have had time to build a credit history. So the way that we look at applicants through our newcomer offering at Futurpreneur is that we focus more on the business plan and the strength of the cash flow projections and the strength of the opportunity of the business, rather than focusing so much on credit history and credit that has yet to be established in Canada. So we do really want to support newcomers that are new to Canada, helping them start their business. And so this is how we are able to support them through our programs. So I'll pause there and pass it on to Audrey, who will talk a little bit more about our Black Entrepreneur Startup Program.
Thank you very much, Nicola. Regarding the Black Entrepreneur Startup Program, so we launched this Black Entrepreneur Startup Program last year, around spring. And why we decided to launch this program is to address some barriers that Black entrepreneurs are facing. And one of them, it's around credit score or scaling a business. So this program is more like offer like inclusive financing. And I'm going to talk about this, but before I do that, I just wanted to inform that we do offer some credit information training videos for all entrepreneurs, including a questionnaire and reference guide. And that's available from the platform, from the website. Now, let me talk about the program structure of the Black Entrepreneur Startup Program. As I mentioned, it's more an inclusive, we offer inclusive financing and mentorship. So it's a bit based on the core program that was mentioned by my colleagues earlier. Through this program, entrepreneurs will receive up to $60,000. And then for those entrepreneurs who are usually not eligible through the core program, through this program, they will receive probably up to $10,000 in loan financing. So that will be a $5,000 plus an additional of $5,000 if they do complete the optional credit information training videos. On top of this, after 2 years in the program, entrepreneurs, Black entrepreneurs may be eligible for an additional of $40,000 after 2 years. That's very unique for this program at Futurpreneur. And again, this is to address some barriers that the Black entrepreneurs are facing. We also offer mentorship, and the goal of the mentorship component of the program is for the entrepreneurs to develop entrepreneurial reflexes and skills. And it's usually like up to 2 years of mentorship. So that's pretty much about the program itself. If you would like to get more information, I will be happy to share that in the chat, the link. And I think we are going to move forward probably with our guest. I just wanted to double check with the WEKH team.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, go for it.
Okay, amazing. So today we do have 2 entrepreneurs who did receive the financing from Futurpreneur. And we have here Dr. Melvia Agbeto from Alberta, Edmonton, and I had the pleasure to meet her like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And we also have Rebecca Lecourt from Quebec. So let's start here. I'm going to probably ask each of you to introduce yourself directly and your business. And maybe we can start with Rebecca.
Okay. Hi. So I've been working in the book industry for 15 years now in Quebec City, in Quebec and in Quebec City. Now I'm in Montreal, and this year was the year that I started my own book publishing company with the help of Futurpreneur. So for me, it was a first experience with entrepreneurship. I've worked for a long time for other company, and so I already had experience about book publishing and distributor and all that. But for me, it was really helpful, the mentorship that Futurpreneur provide for me to help me for the different step to the planning, to ask for financing and all that. So it was the new part for me. So it was really helpful. And right now I have my second book. It's going to go out in November, the 10th of November. So I'm really proud of that, and everything's going good. So yeah, I'm book publishing in French. Mainly we do romance. So my clientele is woman mainly. So there's a double thing for me. I'm a woman in publishing, and I want to publish for women. All my book, mainly my public, my readers are really women. So I'm really happy to. That's a double for me doing the both of that with my company. So yeah.
Thank you, Rebecca, and we will have like more questions to ask you. I'm going to ask Dr. Melvia to introduce yourself and your business
Audrey.
as well.
Thank you so much. Hi, I'm Dr. Melvia, and like Audrey mentioned, I'm a naturopathic doctor, and I help basically women who have gut concerns, hormonal concerns, and energy concerns. So I am the CEO of VIA Wellness Solutions, and that's a new venture for me, which is where Futurpreneur came into play. As Rebecca mentioned, the mentorship is key, so key, because I can appreciate very much that I am very much a practitioner. I'm a clinician, and to think of business in a different way, this is very much where the skills Futurpreneur is offering really come into play. So I've been really thankful for that journey. I'm still in the early parts of it, although I've been a practitioner for over a decade. And so lifelong learning, that's my key, that's my goal, that's my experience. At VIA Wellness Solutions, again, we help women. We offer naturopathic services as well as coaching services. So if somebody is not able to access services one-on-one at some point, then there's also the coaching component. This allows us to help people not only locally, but on a larger scale, so nationally and internationally, and just jump in to help people experience wellness on a different level. And so that's what I have to share about what we do here.
Thank you very much. And what I understood, both of you, is that you have a lot of experience in your industry, right? Over a decade for both of you, if I'm not mistaken.
Quite a bit, yes.
So, well, you have a lot of experience in your industry, but being an entrepreneur, what are the biggest challenges for you? Maybe we can start with Dr. Melvia.
Certainly, biggest challenges I would say would be having a long-term vision of what it is that you're expecting to execute and how you expect to serve. It is easy to think, hey, I like this thing and I'm passionate about this thing, and so I want to help many people about it, but without seeing the bigger plan and being able to work backwards from that is key to being an entrepreneur. It is about taking risks, it's about taking ownership, it's about not following rules, really. There aren't any rules. You have to make them as you go and see what works for your business, what works for your plan. So I think that has been the biggest shift in my thinking, is how to see my plan from the end, exit, all the way back to the beginning, and then work it forwards. I think that's the key component I would say to being an entrepreneur. The other piece I would say is clarity. As much as we can see the big picture, there needs to be clarity and there needs to be simplicity. And when there's not that and it's too overcomplicated, then you get shifted in many directions and you get taken with the tide. And that's not really what you want. So what you want to be able to do is stay grounded in your foundation, stay grounded in what it is that you're expecting to see for your business, think long-term, have that clarity, and then keep things simple as much as possible.
And so how do you overcome that, Melvia? Actually, you talk about clarity and having a long-term vision. So how do you do that?
I think we can all, appreciate that at times we tend to get into our own heads and sometimes we get stuck. I think this is the key piece about coaching, about mentorship. It's to know that you are surrounded by peers or a group of people, or even, people who have a different vision and are able to see things from different points of view. Once that's in place, I think it's important for you to understand surrounding yourself with people who know things that you don't know and know aspects of business that you don't know is key, because you can have a great idea, like I mentioned before, but then what, right? So being able to bounce that off for the piece of Futurpreneur, I think that mentorship piece is what I appreciate the most, because sometimes I'm thinking, oh, this is wonderful. And the next day I'm thinking, oh, no, it's not going to work. So that's how I would say is keep people who have a different skill set around you, who don't know the things that you don't know, so that you can learn from these people as well.
Amazing. And I was wondering, by the way, if your mentor has experience in your industry, actually, or not. So how does it help you? Sometimes people expect to have that. Tell me more about it.
I thought that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. I initially mentioned some things, but I'm the kind of person who says, here's my big plan. Here's my big vision. Send me the people, send me the resources so that I can step out of my own way. And who I received initially, I actually went through 2 mentors. My initial mentor was not able to continue for whatever reason, and we had to part ways very, very early. My second mentor kicks my bum so hard, but keeps me on my toes, because I don't get to settle into thinking about, oh yeah, this was a great plan, let's just go with it. I get to be stretched. And it's nice because even though this mentor does not have my industry experience, I laughed with them the other day and said, you're stretching me, you're making me think about other things. And that's exactly what I do with my clients, right? With my patients, with my clients, is you don't get to see this piece just yet because you're so immersed in it. But if we can stretch you a little bit more and change you just 1 degree more, then you're able to see a different reality, a different experience. And that's my experience. I am being challenged, I tell you, but it's a good challenge and it's well worth it.
Thanks, Melvia. Thank you, Dr. Melvia. And so what about you, Rebecca? So what is the biggest challenges for you being an entrepreneur?
I can agree with Dr. Melvia about the really having a plan. You really need to know where you're going and you have to stick with it. It's really important for that. My mentor also doesn't know a lot about book publishing, but I have to say that that's a very particular business. There's not a lot of people who know how it works, where you can buy your book, how it's working, how much a contract for a writer is gonna work, and the cover, stuff like that. Not a lot of people know everything. So for me, it's good because I have to explain, and he has a vision, an outside vision of all my problems. So if I say, oh, that stuff doesn't work, he said, okay, why? And and I have to tell the things. For me, it seems complicated, and he sees it in a really simple way. He can help me see stuff that seems complicated, and it's simpler the way that I have to explain it to him. And he helped me see my problem in a really business-like way. So it's not as personal. I don't know how to say that, but it's easier. So for me, yeah, having a plan is really important. The first step was really having a clear business plan, because there's a lot of subvention and stuff like that you can get in book publishing in Quebec, because I publish in French. My book publishing is Maison Rose, so I publish in French, and there's a lot of tool to encourage the book publishing in that language, so I can use those tools, but there's a lot of oops that I have to go by to get that. And firstly, I needed my company to work, to sell books simply. I don't have to ask myself a lot of questions, just are my book goods, where I'm going to sell them, and how I'm going to sell them. So it's really simple when you think like that, but can be challenging when you're alone with your thought and you have your project. So it's really helpful that way. Another thing that I would say that was really a challenge for me was to trust myself. I've worked for a lot of other people, and I was really good at my job for other people. But now I'm working for myself, for my project, my dreams. And I have to trust that I know what I'm doing. And I know what I'm doing, but I just need to be confident that what I'm putting out there, that's the right thing. I know how it's gonna work. And I have to, just trust yourself. And after the first result that you get, the first sale, the first feedback that you get from people and clients, it's easier after that. But at the beginning, it's really hard to push your own insecurities. And that's a main challenge for me.
So what I understood is that mentorship is very important for both of you, which is amazing. Now, again, I want to emphasize on that. Both of you, you have 10 years of experience, okay? So then what inspired you to be an entrepreneur, really? Rebecca, maybe?
I think after the COVID, for me, what's a big push that I wanted to do, I wanted to be my own boss, to be independent, to be in control of what's going to happen to me for the next 10 years, let's say, what I wanted to put out there. And also I have to say that for me, stories told by women are not put up front, let's say. A lot of time there's a lot of women working in the publishing industry, but not a lot of women who are boss in the publishing industry or a manager or stuff like that. I was a director in a publishing house, and I really enjoyed the experience, but I felt that I didn't have all the control to do my vision that I had for that. And I feel that there's a place for that, and I wanted to bring that thing to the market, let's say. So for myself, I wanted that autonomy, and also I felt that I have something different to bring to the book publishing as a woman, and as a woman of color who grew up in Quebec. I feel like I have a particular vision that there's a lot of second generation immigrant that have that, and I can bring that to them. Yeah, so that's why.
Thanks, Rebecca. What about you, Dr. Melvia?
For sure. Mine was a bit more of a personal journey. I'd been flirting with the idea of entrepreneurship for quite some time, over 7 years. And I did a lot of self-study. I made a lot of mistakes, and I just, navigated and took many different courses. But my personal journey came in 2016 with the loss of my dad. And then a few years later, the loss of my mom, then the birth of my first, and then the birth of my second, then my husband's parents both passed, all within the pandemic. So it's almost like life is shaking you up a little bit and saying, is it time to start living? And I like to think sometimes life informs your business, life informs your business, life informs your business. And so with these blessings, I call them blessings in disguise, I was able to start thinking on a deeper level and thinking more about impact, thinking about more of service, thinking about more of why am I here? What am I here to do? And how am I here to serve? And how do I do that in a way that makes me feel filled up and juicy and delighted and happy inside? And of course, I love naturopathic medicine. I love what I do, but I wasn't doing that full time. I was also working other positions as well. And like Rebecca mentioned, you kind of have this desire to kind of not have bosses anymore. Don't want to always have to heed somebody else's directives, and the rebellion starts to bubble up. And so I think by nature, entrepreneurs are rebellious because they have a desire to do something in a way that they see. And so what I really love what Rebecca said is that trust factor in yourself has to be so key. because there are so many opportunities for you to think that you don't trust what you're doing and you can't trust what you're doing, and insecurity on whatever day of the week can be so strong. So the personal journey plus just the shifts in life and the value system that I have in terms of having life inform whatever I do, especially business, was really the stepping stone that made me just say, hey, why not? If I'm not going to take the chance of me, who's going to? So I must do it first, and let me be that example. Let me lead in that direction. Let me lead in that way.
That's so inspirational. Thank you. And being an entrepreneur, it's not very easy. It's a lot of highs and lows. But I'm just wondering, how do you market yourself as an entrepreneur? I will start with Dr. Melvia.
My biggest go-to is speaking. It's something that I honed. It's something that I trained in. I might not seem like an introvert, but all day, every day, I'm an introvert. And I think speaking is one of the best ways for introverts to get across a message, simply because you're able to refine it and hone it in a way that is a lot more strategic because you've had so much more time to think about it. And so I'm speaking to my target, or I'm speaking about what I do, I'm speaking about how I help, then that's really key. So whether that's on an online platform, whether that's in person, whether that's just in a conversation with you and me, then that's something that I really enjoy. Of course, there are the other means. There's the social media, there's the community pieces. I do all those pieces. I just layer and strategize them. But speaking is something that I quite enjoy doing, and really has a good return because I'm very big on education. I've been big on education. It's been part of my family. I've been part of higher education for as many years as I've been a naturopathic doctor. So I think that's just key to my positioning in the marketplace.
And you, Rebecca, tell us more.
For me, I would say that it's really important, social media, for my readership, let's say. But for me as an entrepreneur, I would say that my first thing is really my contact I already have, because I have a long career. So after 10 years or 15 years for me, I've met a lot of people. So there's a lot of people who already know me, and you have to make work that for you. They know you, they have worked with you, for you, and you have to talk to them, tell them about your project, what you're doing, what's your vision. And a lot of time people are really happy to help you, to give you to help you along the way, give you what you need. Or just, I have a friend who is a CPA who looked at my numbers, and just small thing. A lot of people can help you. And I work with a lot of, I don't know how to say in English, pigist, a lot of freelancer. So because I work with a lot of freelancer, there's a lot of people that I've worked in company, in business, and now I can give them contract and I still work with them. So for me, it's easier. They already know me, how I work, and my personality. And with contact, I get new author. And new author that I worked with who like their experience working with me will refer me other people. It's really mainly bouche à oreille. I really don't know in English for that, bouche à oreille. Yeah. So mainly that. We have a lot of book fair, Salon du Livre and stuff like that, and that's another way. With COVID, there was a lot less of that, but it's starting again. So it's a good moment for us to meet each other, to talk, to have new project. I work a lot with project. So yeah, so that's the way I work mostly.
So what I understand is networking, word of mouth, and events, being there in the scene. Okay. Well, for both. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying just being seen and heard.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, knowing what you know now, is there anything that you would have done differently when you were first starting out? I will start with you, Rebecca.
I don't know, maybe starting sooner, because I've waited. I was, you're scared when you're starting. It's normal. Being scared, it's normal and it's healthy because it's a big risk. But I feel like I could have started earlier. I already had everything I needed, but I didn't knew that. That's only that. Yeah. But I have to say that I didn't knew all the program available also. So maybe that helped, because as soon as I had the idea that I wanted to start my own business, that's when I started to look to see what was the option for financing and everything, and who could help me start my business. But I could have started like 5 years ago, maybe. That's all.
That's yeah. I think a lot of people are afraid to start a business, and yeah. But it's good also to hear from you that okay, just jump into it, and
Yeah.
Yeah. I hear you, Rebecca.
Like Dr. Melvia said, you have to live right now. You cannot wait. There's nothing. You only have one chance. You don't want to wake up and you haven't even tried. You have to try it. So yeah.
Yeah. And what about you, Dr. Melvia?
I feel like Rebecca took the words out of my mouth. So that's me just nodding at the front. Yep, wish I had done it sooner. But what I would say with that is sometimes we think we could have started early, and then there's some just small pieces. It's almost like the puzzle pieces come out of order. And then when you get to look back, you realize, hey, I was starting. I just wasn't at the point of full clarity. I was doing what I needed to do. So I'm saying that as a kindness piece, because I think people like myself, we can think, oh man, if only, and it's not conducive, it's not beneficial in any way, shape, or form. But realizing that every step that you've taken, even if it's the thought process, even if it's you've written an idea down on a piece of, a napkin, that's part of the process until you're ready. And one of the nicest things I've heard is this, somebody, I can't remember who said it, but they said the best marketing campaign that you can have is the one where you get ready for your product. So your best marketing is waiting on you. Your best idea is waiting on you. And it's only when you are ready, when you're willing, when you're able, and when those pieces are all gelling, then that's when you press play and you go for it. So.
Thank you. And so outside of that, that will be my last question for you. So for both of you, if you were to provide one piece of advice to an entrepreneur, so our entrepreneurs here who are just starting out, what it will be? I know, like for Rebecca, it was like I would have started earlier, but do you have any other piece of advice you would provide to entrepreneurs here?
Rebecca, you want to go? We've repeated it a couple times. It's, yes, you wanted to start earlier, but I would also say the trust piece is big. It's, it's almost like how you look at Walt Disney and you see Disney for eons, they've been around forever. But one of the key things I say is believe in yourself, right? And when you believe in yourself, you're able to make dreams come true. So that's number one. The other part about it is, I think I lost my train of thought, so many thoughts, so many ideas. Believe in yourself is the very key, but also take action. That's the second one. Take action wherever you are, and the resources, the people, the things will come into play. It makes no sense to keep information inside. It needs to be acted on. And one of the nicest things I've heard is to be able to be immortal, you have to share what it is that you're here to bring forward, right? Immortality isn't about sharing. Immortality, legacy, it's about sharing and giving. So having knowledge inside serves no one. If you really want to extend that, do that on a bigger scale, serve many, bring that forward, bring value. And I think that's how, you keep that momentum going. My thoughts.
Yeah, what you said. And also get help. Go get the resources that you need. Don't be scared to ask for help. The worst gonna happen, they're gonna say no. That's the worst that's gonna happen. the best, you're going to get new information, help for your project, and a new contact. And maybe someday what you ask, maybe today they cannot give to you, but maybe in 6 months they can, you're going to receive a email saying, oh, now I have that stuff for you. So it's important to go to other people. Don't stay by yourself with your project. You have to open up. And maybe when we talk about starting sooner, you don't need to right now get your money and right now have your perfect business plan, but you can start talking about it and ask people who've already done it, a little bit like we're doing today. Ask about what the experience of entrepreneurship is for them. So when I started just thinking about it, I had a friend who used the Futurpreneur program. She's a nurse. She's helping elderly people. It's really not the same thing as me, but she could talk to me about her experience starting her own business, going working for herself, how to have a cash flow, and thinking about those things. I was just curious, asking questions, and in my mind, slowly the idea become, oh, maybe I could do that. It's not so scary anymore. So yeah, just talk to people. Yeah.
Well, thank you both of you for answering those questions. I'm just going to, we have probably more questions in the chat. So if you're happy like to put questions in the chat, that would be great. But there was one question here about how to find a mentor from Futurpreneur. I'm just going to talk about Futurpreneur. The program that we finance, we provide its financing and mentorship. So that goes together. It's not just mentorship or financing. It goes all together. But I don't know, Sabine, if you do have any probably other resources you can share with entrepreneurs here. Maybe we can put it in the chat.
Yes, I think the website is the resource itself. So please go to the website, check all the resources, especially there is a guide on for incorporation. So then you know exactly why you incorporate. And I believe my colleague also answered the question about the recording because someone asked about that. So there is recordings, there are videos available. Like I said, we had government representatives coming to discuss also procurement. So there are different areas, and I really hope that you will find answers on our website, because it's not just our information, but it's the ecosystem information. So our partners, and please check and let us know if you have further questions. Yeah. And you said something, Rebecca. Actually, both of you said, yeah. Thank you so much. I think that's a perfect segue. Thank you so much, first of all, Audrey, Futurpreneur, for this event. But you too. Oh my God. I'm an entrepreneur myself. So it's not like I want to be an entrepreneur because of what you said, but I want to go back to my entrepreneurship journey because I put it on pause. So I feel like so much, you know, you gave us so much information. And one takeaway is, yes, please go and get the resources that you need. Don't stay alone in your little silo. Just go and ask. That's why we have a sharing platform. It's for that specific reason, to make sure that you can speak with other entrepreneurs who are facing the same issue. Sometimes you will be for a week thinking of, oh my God, how am I going to solve that? Well, talk to someone, right? So thank you so much for sharing that, because we take it for granted and we're like, we know, well, we need to do it more often. So it's a good time to be an entrepreneur. Many resources are available, so just check and use them. So now I think that's it. The webinar comes to an end. So again, thank you for our partner. Thank you so much for Dr. Melvia Agbeko and Rebecca Lecour for joining us today. It was insightful and a good conversation. So we can't wait to have you again for another webinars and have Futurpreneur. Why not next year? We'll do it again. And thank you everyone for joining today. So it will be available on our YouTube channel. So if you missed the first part of the webinar, you can catch up and you can also share with your network. So thank you everyone and have a good day.